Jamaican stalker. Back when I was 18 years old, I started working at a gas station. This was my first job. Near the end of my first shift, I was cleaning the hot dog rollers and a man walked in. He was rough, looking not in a bad way, but like he had been working outside all day. As soon as I set eyes on him, I got the gut feeling that I needed to stay away from him. Since I wasn't the only one at the register, there was no reason for him to talk to me. However, the moment he saw me, he walked over and asked if I was new. I said yes, and he told me I was doing a good job and went on his way to check out. I noticed that he had a Jamaican accent, which was weird to hear since I lived in Michigan. Honestly, at that point, I thought that my gut was wrong about him and that I probably felt that way because I have a bad social anxiety and had reached my limit of human interaction for the day. I was right the first time. During my first shift, he once again came in and again I was cleaning. He came over to me and I still got the bad feeling in my gut. He asked me how my day was, and I told that it was okay. Then he looked at my hand. I was wearing my high school class ring, and I had put it on my left hand ring finger because I didn't want to scuff it up while cleaning with my right hand. He asked me if I was married, and I said no, and told him it was my class ring. He then asked if I was dating, and I lied and said yeah. He started asking me questions about my boyfriend, like how old he was, if I want to marry him, and if we were in a physical relationship. I told him I wasn't comfortable with answering them. Then he got mad and dropped the conversation. He would continue to ask me questions about my love life every time he would come in. After a month and a half of this, I noticed that he would come in every day when I was working. This was weird because the days and hours that I worked changed from week to week. I asked my coworkers if he came in when I wasn't here, and all of them said no. I also asked if any of them had told him what shifts I had been working, but again, they said no. This honestly freaked me out, and I would start to have a panic attack every time I see his car pull. One day, he tried to give me his phone number and I politely told him that I wasn't interested. He got mad and was telling me that I needed to take it. My coworker at this point told him that he needed to leave. The next day he came in and asked me on a date, and when I declined, he told me that I was going to regret it. He asked me several more times and each time I said no. After a while of him asking, I told him that it was never going to happen and that I had absolutely no interest in him and never would. This only made things worse. He told me that I didn't have a choice and that he would be here when I got off work and that I was going to go with him. When he left, I called my dad and told him what had happened and asked if Mom and he could come pick me up at the end of my shift. He said yes. I didn't get off until midnight, and about 10 minutes before, my dad walked in and told me to act like I was going to my car as normal, but he was going to be in there. A few minutes after, the guy pulled in and got out of his car and was just standing there. As my shift was over, I hurriedly walked to my car. He started approaching me and I jumped into the passenger seat and slammed the door shut. When he got to my door, my dad rolled down the window and pointed his gun at him. The man ran off, and I thought that it was the end of it since he didn't come back to my work the next few days. However, it wasn't for about a week. Later, I was at the store with my mom when I got the feeling that someone was following us, and sure enough, it was him. We got out of there as fast as we could, and from then on and out, my mom and I were not allowed to leave without my dad. Everywhere I would go, he would show up. Even when I went to my friend's house, who lived about a half an hour from mine. We caught him driving by the house several times. My mom had also caught him following her several times, which freaked her out. We contacted the police and told them what was going on, but they said that there wasn't enough evidence and that there was nothing that they were able to do. To this day, I'm still mad at the police for not doing anything. He started coming back to my workplace, and I asked my boss to ban him from the store, but she said no. Later, I found out that they were friends, and that is how he always knew when I was working. I also believe that she was the one giving him my phone number because it was around this time that I started receiving strange messages about how I looked, about my parents, and other creepy things. I got to the point where I was so paranoid that I wouldn't leave my house without my dad, and when he was at work, I would carry a gun around me. I had to have him drop me off and pick me up from work, and when I was at work anytime I had seen a car that even somewhat looked like his, I would run and hide in the back room. Even my poor mother was paranoid and wouldn't go outside without someone with her. Finally, my dad had enough and told me to quit my job and that he would help me pay a few bills that I had. Even after quitting my job, I was freaked out and decided to go stay with my aunt and uncle, who is a police officer who lived about 6 hours away. When I got there, it was the first time in nearly 6 months that I was able to relax. It didn't last for long. One night, my uncle and I went to pick up some pizza. Less than a minute after he walked in, the glass on my door was broken and hands were grabbing me. It was the Jamaican man and another guy. They got the door open and were pulling me out. I fought them as hard as I could. I got a few good hits on them, but it didn't do much good. Thankfully, my uncle came out. Both of them ran after my uncle, announcing who he was, but my uncle chased down the Jamaican guy after I shouted which man he was. That day, he was arrested. I cried for hours straight from relief, anger, and stress. Later on, I found out that he was here illegally and was deported. It took me about 2 years before I would go anywhere by myself. Honestly, it wasn't until I got my CPL that I was comfortable going places without someone with me. I still get panic attacks from time to time because of seeing a car like his, or I feel like someone is watching me. So, Jamaican man, if you're watching this, let's not meet again, ever.